The sky over Silverwood Hollow was gray that evening, a sheet of dull steel above the fountains and trimmed hedges. I was 8 feet away from my daughter when it happened, close enough to hear her laugh, close enough to catch her breath in the mist. Then Edra Mallory, president of the Silverwood Hollow HOA, lifted my child by both arms and dropped her into the fountain. The splash was small. The scream wasn't. For 5 terrible seconds, my world stopped. Then instinct took over. I jumped in, pulled Neri, my 5-year-old, out of the water, her little fingers clutching my sleeve like she was afraid to let go of life itself. Edra didn't move. She just stood there, clipboard in hand, as paramedics rushed in. She was disrupting the aesthetic symmetry of the memorial space. She said coldly, "This is a compliance issue now." I looked at her, soaked and shaking. "You assaulted a child. You left her unattended," she said. "You're responsible for this violation." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a tragedy. It was an attack. How it began. My name is Micah Vale, and I'm a federal administrative judge. I moved to Silverwood Hollow after my wife died. My daughter couldn't sleep without the sound of water, so every Tuesday, we placed a single white lily into the wishing pond, her way of saying goodnight to her mother. Not noise. Not vandalism. Just grief given shape. The first HOA fine came 2 months ago. Unauthorized behavior at ornamental installation. $200. I paid it quietly. I didn't want to start a war. Then came the corrective supervision order. No child within 10 feet of any HOA-controlled feature without written approval. It wasn't law, it was control. But I complied. That afternoon, I was watching her, 8 feet away, when Edra acted. She called it a necessary correction of behavioral patterns. I called it what it was, cruelty. When I told her she'd lose everything she thought, gave her power, she laughed. She didn't know that the HOA's charter had quietly expired 17 months earlier. She didn't know I'd already found that out. And she didn't know what quo warranto meant, a legal challenge against anyone acting under false authority. But I did. The cover-up. 2 days later, a new notice appeared on the community board. Public compliance update. Reflective. Water features are not for recreational use. Offenders will be reported. The picture beneath it was my daughter, caught mid-motion, holding her lily. The signatures beneath were all familiar. Edra Mallory, Marissa Ellison, Board Secretary, Thomas Kane, Landscaping Liaison, and Samuel Dellin, Vice President. No mention of the assault. No mention of paramedics. Just bureaucratic fiction. I wasn't surprised. Edra always rewrote history before truth could take root. She fined Mr. Rahim for having the wrong mailbox texture. She forced the Weldons to tear down their swing set for being too visible, even though it wasn't. She built her empire on exhaustion. People gave up, too tired to fight. But I wasn't tired. I was furious. And I knew procedure better than she knew power. A quiet war. The HOA's follow-up letter arrived that week. Regrettable aquatic interaction. Misinterpretation of proximity protocol. They even suggested I attend a parental responsibility seminar. That's when I realized she wasn't protecting order. She was rewriting reality. So when I got a special clarification meeting invitation, I went. The community hall reeked of disinfectant and quiet fear. Edra sat at the head of the table, pearls shining under the light, surrounded by her obedient board. "Thank you for coming, Judge Vale," she said. "We'd like to address the misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I said. "You mean the assault?" Her tone was soft but venomous. "Your daughter's actions created an unsafe environment. Our protocols require intervention." "Protocols," I said, "don't override human decency." Across the table, Samuel Dellin, the only one who looked human, twirled his pen, eyes darting. Fear, not guilt. He knew something. After the meeting, he followed me outside. His voice trembled. "She's not what she seems," he whispered. "She's been running this place wrong for years." I tried to fix it quietly, but she threatened me. "Then help me fix it loudly," I said. He hesitated. "Not yet, but there's something she doesn't want anyone to see. The fake authority." 3 days later, a letter arrived. No postage, hand-delivered. "Due to habitual noncompliance, your property is flagged for review under Article 7B. Failure to attend a compliance hearing may result in monetary penalty or lien placement." It was a bluff. Article 7B didn't exist. So I went straight to the HOA office. I'd like to see your charter filings for Article 7B, I said. Edra's smile didn't reach her eyes. Our documents aren't public without a formal request. Wrong, I said. You're a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. By law, your filings are open to any member upon demand. She tapped her clipboard. You're misinterpreting access rights. No, I said. You're misrepresenting power. That night, I checked the state portal. The last renewal filing was 18 months old, submitted by Samuel Dellon. No receipt. No state stamp. Pending, never completed. The HOA had expired, which meant every citation, every fee, every hearing since was void. Edra wasn't a president. She was a fraud wearing authority like a mask. The collapse begins. The next day, I visited the county clerk. Last filing attempt for Silverwood Hollow HOA. I asked. The clerk typed, then frowned. Abandoned. No confirmation, no payment processed. Entity expired. The seal stamped inactive across the document was the most satisfying sound I'd heard in years. That night, I told Neri, the rules aren't gone. The lies are. She smiled faintly, still clutching her mother's scarf in sleep. Then came the knock. Samuel stood there, eyes rimmed red. She told me not to renew, he said. Said we'd handle it internally. She blackmailed me, knew about my bankruptcy. I just wanted to keep my house. I handed him an affidavit form. If you sign this, you're not the villain anymore. He stared at it for a long time, then signed. That signature was the first crack in her fortress. Building the case. By dawn, I had everything ready. The state certificate showing the HOA's expiration. Samuel's sworn affidavit admitting Edra's coercion. Login logs proving Edra tried, and failed, to fake renewal using her own IP address. Newsletters claiming renewed authorization. Every lie in sequence, clean and traceable. Then I filled out a quo warranto petition, challenging her right to act under expired authority, and filed it with the county court. When the clerk handed me the stamped confirmation, I finally exhaled. This wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. That night, I uploaded all the evidence into a public folder titled Silverwood Governance Status and posted QR codes across the neighborhood. Every mailbox, every park, every notice board. By sunrise, truth was everywhere. The public break. The HOA still held its monthly meeting, pretending nothing had changed. I walked in 10 minutes early, court summons in my pocket. Mr. Vale, Edra said, are you here to disrupt proceedings again? No, I said. I'm here to end them. The room filled with neighbors, dozens of them. When Mrs. Kwan from Lot 13 asked, where does this board get its authority? Edra snapped, we are the duly elected body. Then why, Mrs. Kwan asked, holding up her phone. Does the Secretary of State say your charter expired? Silence. Hands rose. Voices joined. Mr. Rahim waved copies of forged renewal notices. The Weldons held their fines. I waited until Edra reached for her gavel, then set the court summons on the table. This is for you, I said. Filed, certified, and docketed. You're not the president of anything. You're just a citizen pretending to be. For the first time, she had no words. She left the room. And behind me, applause. Quiet, but real. The hearing. 3 days later, the hearing room was packed. Edra arrived with a high-priced attorney, polished but nervous. I stood alone with my folder. Case 3127, QW, said Judge Harland, adjusting his glasses. Micah Vale, petitioner, versus Silverwood Hollow Homeowners Association. I laid out everything. The expired charter, false newsletters, coerced filings, and Samuel's sworn affidavit. The judge asked, Ms. Mallory, do you dispute the expiration? No, she said. Do you dispute issuing official communications afterward? She hesitated. We believed renewal was a formality. That wasn't my question, the judge said. No, she whispered. The judge's tone was calm, but final. Effective immediately, Silverwood Hollow HOA is suspended from all enforcement activity. All fines, citations, and penalties issued in the past 18 months are void. This matter will be referred for civil fraud review. The gavel struck once, sharp and clean. It was over. Aftermath. Within a week, Edra vanished from public view. Her mail piled up, her porch light stayed on. County oversight took over, appointing a temporary committee to rebuild real governance, with law, not intimidation. I declined their offer to join. I'd done what I came to do. That afternoon, I took Neri back to the fountain. She wore a white dress, holding 2 lilies, one for her mother, one for the part of herself that survived. We watched them drift together on the water. Mom always said water tells the truth, I whispered. Neri nodded. It does. Behind us, neighbors stood. Quietly, Rahim, the Weldons, Mrs. Kwan. No speeches, no ceremony. Just respect. I didn't need thanks. I needed peace. That night, I wrote one final note in the public folder. Silence isn't compliance. Power only exists when we let it. The law isn't paper. It's the people who defend it. Then I closed the laptop and listened to the water outside our window. For the first time since we moved here, it sounded honest.